gray mist clings to the jagged cliffs of the Irish coast, a silent shroud over the emerald valleys and stone-walled monasteries that have for centuries known only the quiet rhythm of prayer and toil. But in the late 8th century, the horizon shifts. Dark, narrow shapes, dragon ships of a design never before seen on these shores, careen through the breaking surf. From the decks emerge bearded men, their shields and axes glinting with a cold, metallic intent. They do not come to trade or seek the blessing of the monks. They come to harvest the gold of the altars and the lives of those who guard them. The staccato rain of iron against wood splinters the monastery doors, and the peaceful air is soon choked by the putrid vapor of burning thatch and the screams of fleeing scholars. Medieval chroniclers claim that terrible storms and fire-breathing dragons appeared over the land as hellish harbingers of this fate. To the monks, these are not mere men, they are heathens, a punishment from God delivered upon the waves. But as we look past the mystical embellishments of the scribes, we find a much more pragmatic and brutal reality. Why did these Scandinavian chieftains clamber aboard their dragon ships to cross the treacherous North Sea? The answer is found in the flame-lit mead halls of the north. Loyalty in the Viking world is a commodity that must be bought. To keep a warband satisfied, a chieftain needs a constant influx of shining metals, fine jewelry, and other valuables to distribute as gifts. Ireland, with its fractured kingdoms and ill-guarded, treasure-heavy monasteries, is a fertile field for the taking. A young Scandinavian herder, perhaps only in his teens, grips his spear as he steps onto the Irish soil. He is not a professional soldier, but a farm-based youth seeking a future for his family. For him, the raid is a gamble for status and survival. He watches as his kinsmen capture countless people, dragging them toward the ships in chains. These captives face a grim fate, held for ransom if they are important, or sold as household slaves and reluctant wives. Some will be traded in the bustling markets of Venice and Baghdad, destined to toil in lands as remote as Egypt or Central Asia. For decades, the Irish response is as fragmented as the land itself. Many kings choose the safest way to survive. They give the invaders what they want. They cough up enormous annual tributes of silver and gold in exchange for a guarded peace. But paying them off comes with a hidden price. Historians and chroniclers alike note that Vikings who extract tribute once will come back for more. The gold intended to buy safety only serves to fund the next fleet of dragon ships. As the 9th century evolves, the nature of the conflict evolves. The Norsemen are no longer content with seasonal looting. They begin to establish permanent fortified bases along the Irish rivers. The black foreigners and the fair foreigners soon find themselves entangled in the complex political maelstrom of the Irish High Kings. The lines between ally and enemy blur as Irish kings begin to hire Viking mercenaries to settle their own domestic quarrels, while Norse chieftains find themselves fighting alongside Gaelic warriors. It is a time when a man's status is measured by the sharpness of his sword and the number of cattle in his pasture. These unique dynamics of power and struggle are made possible by the versatile longships of the North. These are the pinnacle of 8th century engineering, capable of navigating the open ocean and rowing deep into the shallow arteries of Ireland's rivers. This mobility allows for hit-and-run attacks that ravage coastlines and leave kingdoms in ruin before a counterattack can even be organized. In Scandinavia, society is centralizing. Great kings are beginning to consolidate the power of independent chieftains, creating a more conventional machine of trade and conquest. While the Vikings appear unstoppable, they are not invincible. The world is changing. Just as the Emirate of Córdoba in Spain eventually organizes a swift collective response to stop the searing inferno of Viking raids, the Irish begin to adapt. They realize that the best way to survive a Viking raid is to stop it in its tracks. The uncertain, fractured clans begin to coalesce under more stable monarchies, capable of raising formidable counterattacks to these incursions. The climax of this era is not a single battle, but a century of reciprocal, devastating warfare. The Irish landscape becomes a checkerboard of watchtowers and systems of messengers designed to rob the Vikings of their greatest weapon, surprise. In one such encounter, as the longships loom just offshore, the Irish do not flee to the woods. Instead, the stampede of troops meets them at the shoreline. The air is thick with the noise of lances breaking and swords striking armor, a sound described by medieval chroniclers as being as loud as a rockfall. Archers deploy to the front, loosing arrows on the armored Norsemen. The Vikings form their shield walls, but the Irish, now well-armed and eager, charge into the gaps. In the melee, armor crumples and swords thrust at faces. The brutal reality of hand-to-hand combat leaves the grass wet with the entrails of those who sought only gold. One survivor, perhaps an aging warrior who has seen the transition from the first raids at Lindisfarne to the great battles of the 10th century, looks out over a corpse-strewn battlefield. He sees that the mighty Vikings are no longer just raiders. Many have become part of the land they once bled. They are founding cities like Dublin, becoming Christian kingdoms that pursue more conventional means of trade. The blood-spattered chapels are being rebuilt, not just as targets, but as centers of a new shared faith. By the time the new millennium dawns, the brutal and fascinating era of the raids enters its twilight. The Vikings do not fall to a single conqueror, they evolve. The old gods and petty clans are waning, replaced by a centralized Europe. The dragon ships that once brought smoke and ash are now resigned to lore, their exploits told as rumor and fable around the hearth. We are left to marvel at the realized ambitions of these men who prevailed in such a brutal age. They were the neighborhood watchdogs and the homicidal venom of their time, leaving behind a legacy of widows grieving and broken homes, but also a world irrevocably linked by the paths they carved through the waves.